Hey guys, KTownJr here. I got B Flesh on the phone, so we're just gonna have a chat about some of the strains he's grown in the past and some of the ones that he's grown recently, and just yak about that. So yeah. So yeah, go ahead, man.
Okay, well, let's start with the beginning.
Yeah.
The beginning was when I used to get a lot of seeds from Colombian pot.
Right.
You couldn't grow that in Canada because it would grow a gigantic tree of like vegetable growth, but it would never start flowering until well after the frost. So
Yeah.
you could grow Mexican or Colombian, but it would never flower until it was too late. So
Right.
it was useless.
Yeah.
So that's probably what triggered, a lot of the growers in Canada to seek other strains from other parts of the world.
Like back in the early '80s, kind of thing.
Yeah, back in the early '80s, there was no problem for sending samples or to try and get yourself into the High Times Festival. You had to send a certain amount for that people to test it and stuff.
Yeah.
And you, before, like now there's 9/11 and that, it's very difficult to achieve that. But back then, a lot of people would send stuff over, and I got the festival winner, which was M39, and it was from the Sacred Sativa Seed Club.
Yeah.
And it was 5 indicas times skunk number 1.
Right.
There was 500 entries.
Right, yeah. That was the first year. 1987 was the first year of the Cup, and that's when that would have been. So 1987 was the first Cannabis Cup.
Yeah, well, I don't know,
But I think before then there was still like things, but the actual first High Times Cannabis Cup was 87, so it might have been like the Emerald Cup or one of those other ones.
Yeah, I think so. Like I think it was a little before '87.
Yeah.
That's why I say they had astronomical amounts of entries.
Oh,
and
yeah.
stuff. And it was different then too. And anyway, the main two strains that everybody really wanted was like the M39, which nobody got because I was the only one that had it, but the Hindu Kush, the SSC, the Sacred Sativa Seed Club,
right,
was the original Hindu Kush, was the original Kush, and it was twice as small as any other, and remained twice as small as any other weed per weight for a long time.
Yeah.
Like a full Ziploc baggie of normal, like a cross, indica sativa cross, a full Ziploc would be a certain weight, and the Hindu Kush would be exactly half a bag.
Yeah.
Like double the weight, and it was really, really dense and had a really, really pungent aroma and very sweet flavor.
Yeah.
But it was only around a little while because it got lost in being crossed.
Right.
Everyone crossed it because it was small.
Right.
And now you can't find that
No.
Kush anymore.
Because that's actually kind of cool you mentioned that, because tomorrow I'm actually, when I get new meds tomorrow, actually he's bringing me Hindu Kush along with some other stuff, but Hindu Kush, and I really enjoyed it. It's very potent. But it's like you said, it's not like what you're describing, but it's a Hindu Kush because I trust who I get it from, and I know that he gets it from growers.
Yeah, well,
but since then it's changed, like you said.
Yeah, like that was really way back when, and one thing that's interesting was. I managed to, through a friend, obtain some true Afghani indica mountain strain seeds from a guy that went to California.
Like a true landrace Afghani.
Yeah, and it was really, really vigorous, and it was really big, but it would automatically, on the 5th node, when it was grown outside, it would automatically start and we would get a whole bunch of seeds off these plants, but they would all be white and hollow.
Right.
And eventually I figured it out because I had to set up a small grow, and I didn't have a bulb. I only had a mercury vapor bulb, which had a really white blue light. It was sort of
right.
like
Was it frosted?
It goes sort of whitish blue. What's that?
Was it frosted? The bulb itself?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
But eventually they became very difficult to find because the UV rays are really bad off those lamps. So people were not allowed to use them.
Yeah,
but anyway,
they're really bad if they explode too.
To make a long story short, for the Afghani and the Hindu Kush, that was the bulb that would produce fully matured seeds that would actually be viable.
Really?
And it was really wild. I just happened
upon it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was great because, you know, I wanted to make seeds out of those two strains for probably 3 or 4 years. I tried every indoor crop and every outdoor crop.
Yeah.
And I could get lots of seeds, but none of them would mature. They'd all be white and hollow.
Yeah, that's...
One time inside, I used that mercury vapor lamp, and that was the trick. And then I read an article in High Times.
Right.
It talked about how the Himalayan varieties are really, it's a really white spectrum there. I guess it's because it's such a high elevation.
Yeah.
And then that sort of clicked. That's why it worked. You know?
Right. Yeah.
So something to think about, especially if you're trying to make any kind of seeds from any kind of really high mountain varieties, especially from the Himalayas.
That's funny that you said that because I recently watched a video with an interview with DJ Short there, the blueberry guy, and who's a very good grower, and he runs all these different weird light cycles, like 11 instead of 12, 12, 11, 13, and like 10 3/4 and whatever, and like all these to mimic the tropics, and with all these different, because he's got all those like blueberry ties and like all these weird sativas that he breeds with indicas and stuff. So yeah, and that's what he was saying. He says I found that if I use these weird like light cycles, they produce more phenotypic like phenotypes, and they just do better. And he said if you're doing clones, to get the most phenotype out of clones, use like a weird light schedule, because like with clones you don't get any phenotypes pretty much, right? You get but he said there is a way that if you do like what you said with different lighting and different scheduling, it might work, right?
Yeah, I think it's mimicry, you know. You got to really mimic where the area of the earth.
And it's so weird because like 10 years ago, when I was reading High Times, like nobody smoked, like people smoked Kush, but now everything's Kush. Everyone wants Kush. So, it's not Kush. Now Kush. But like for a while, everything was haze and everything else, not too much Kush, you know. And like you said, it was small and stuff. So it's like weird that it's all about the Kush now. But really,
I think it's because like there's a lot of people that sort of depend on Kush, knowing that usually it's always a good
it's what it is,
spot,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I remember way back when, no one would buy Himalayan Kush, because it was such a small bud, but it was so heavy. But for years, the Sacred Sativa Seed Club would put out a catalog you could get, and they had the same strains every time for like 5 years in a row.
Yeah.
Early Pearl and Early Girl.
Yeah.
Etc.
Right.
But I remember back then, a lot of people were into these strains that were created from skunk number 1.
Yeah.
Big bud.
Yeah.
A lot of people would try and grow big bud, and it was very difficult to grow.
Right.
Very picky. I happened to find out, just because I learned from a lot of mistakes over the years that I made, that, like, I had Big Bud times skunk number 1
yeah.
a long time ago, and I couldn't get it to properly grow.
Mm.
It was weird, and by mistake, I started feeding brand new, newly rooted cuttings. I started them off on a really strong phosphate, a really strong bloom solution.
Right.
And that was the trick for the Big Bud.
That's wild, eh?
It wouldn't grow. It would stunt and not work if you gave it growth formula. But if you just fed it bloom the whole time, you would get really magnificent sized buds. Wow. It was amazing. But if that happened to be, I was just
fucking around by accident
1 week and I screwed up my solutions.
Oh yeah, that's easy to do too.
I was giving them flower formula.
Yeah,
that was what it was.
And
then that's why, like Big Bud, you don't see it now because after about 2 or 3 years, people quit trying to sell it and make it because no one could get it to perform.
Yeah, well, everyone still has it, but you don't like see it on. I never see anyone talking about it on online forums or like you don't hear much about it. Could you imagine like someone like you or me spending like $300 on seeds, on Big Bud seeds, thinking you're gonna get all this like pot, and then that you can't fucking figure out how to do it, and you're like, you know, like that's fuck. They should figure that. They should tell you that or something, but they don't, you know. I was telling this story about the cotton candy. Remember the French guy? He's like, oh, it tastes like cotton, and then it was just because you get cotton mouth.
Yeah, but I might want to add, I remember there was a period of time, I'm pretty sure that's over with, but back about, it must be 10 years ago at least, a buddy ordered $700 worth of seeds from Amsterdam.
Right.
And not one of them sprouted.
Yeah.
And it went around through the grapevine that it was because they were X-raying them.
X-rayed at customs.
Like killing them.
At customs.
You know, obviously they do that anymore, but back, you know, there was a real bad scare way back when, and people would stop buying from Europe because every time you would get your seeds in the mail, none of them would work. Yeah.
So I found out, I heard, you know, Soma there, the guy with the New York City diesel. Anyways, apparently like a couple years ago he got home invaded. And they took all his genetics, so what he's selling now is like totally different than what he had. So that's a total bummer for him, because I wanted to buy Soma's real NYC diesel, like the red gray. It tastes like red, but now everyone's saying on online forums that he got like that happened to him, and his genetics are all like not as good anymore. You know?
Yeah, no doubt.
Bummer.
There was sour diesel too, though.
That's what I've been smoking. Before I just picked up some Tangerine Dream, and before that I had Sour Diesel, and then tomorrow I'm getting the Jack. I'll get some Jack Hair, which is a pure sativa. Then I'll get the Hindu Kush, which is a pure indica, and then I'll get a hybrid, probably some more Tangerine Dream, which is a hybrid. So yeah.
You're lucky.
Yeah.
What else?
Yeah, I don't know. We're at 13 minutes here, Dad, so I think we're going to shut her down for today.
Okay, well, one last thing. You know, with a lot of these Himalayan strains are really short things, and that 10-hour cycle works well.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to try, like the 11 and 13, like Buddy said, and then maybe even 10 and 14, like, you know. So,
you just got to, one thing you got to watch for is when they put out one single male flower.
Oh yeah.
Look like a tiny little banana.
Yep.
Very difficult to find, but you have to watch for them and look for them because stress is very, a very important thing to keep in mind, and you a lot of times you won't notice it, and there'll be just one little male flower, and it'll be wedged in there, and it's just like a little banana. And the thing's allowed to, finish out 4 pistils. Or stamen, or whatever they are, male, they come out 4 little pods, and if you leave it go that long, just one flower can do a lot of damage.
Oh yeah. Sure. I got all those magnifying things, like my little microscope, and then all the other ones you gave me and stuff, so I'm all set.
It's just a matter of having the patience to just take a little time and look everything over. And you'll find it even with the naked eye.
Oh, yeah.
But I've had a lot of people, like one guy, he put a fan up and some sticky strips up, and he was growing Durban poison.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing put out about 4 male flowers, and he had a whole basement full of all kinds of strains. He had like 8 or 10,000 wild lights. Anyway, the fan blew the pollen
all over the place.
And the whole crop was nothing but seeds. It was ridiculous. It was amazing, actually.
Yeah.
It was just from one little plant, one bud on one branch.
Yeah.
It had like 4 flowers.
In the corner somewhere,
and the party was over.
That's how remarkable it is, that plant, can do that, with just a bit of airflow. Yeah. Anyways, right on, because we're at 15 minutes. So, anyways, well, I'll give you a call soon, and thanks for doing this. And everyone liked your other video, so this one they'll dig because there's a lot of cool shit on here. So thanks a lot, man.
Okay, we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.